Our next session is in the apps part of the show and entitled Money Talks. Now, I think everyone this morning in this morning's keynote session, it was referenced a lot. You know, there's great ideas, there's great experiences that the whole industry can deliver to their customers. However, monetization for all stakeholders remains a key pressure point and a key focus point, whether you're an operator, whether you're a media owner, whether you're an app developer to monetize your apps. So what we've done this afternoon is assemble a panel of what I've realized just sitting here is a good cross-section of people with not only great experiences and great capabilities, but also from very different types of organizations. So I'll allow them to introduce themselves, but we have Lewa, who represents BlackBerry, so he's going to be talking a lot about, obviously, from the device manufacturer's perspective, but equally the role they play in monetizing your proposition as app developers and as brands via mobile and via the App Store kind of model. We have Mark from the Telegraph group in the UK, obviously a media owner, similar vein to Mark from this morning from the New York Times, where a legacy business who is really thriving and I'm sure face some challenges in terms of the migration from print to digital and then to mobile. So that's going to be great to find out not only how they've driven new experiences and created great products for their customers, but how they've kind of kept the shareholders and the board happy as well with trying to make some money while they're at it. And then Paul from Tapjoy has a business, and I don't know enormous amounts about it, but what I can gather is it does specifically address and help app developers through in-app advertising, through advertising models, actually create profitable businesses rather than just great ideas. So I'm going to stop talking in a minute and perhaps I'll start with Mark. And we've got some various different monetization models that we're going to focus on, and I'll ask everyone just to share some experiences, and then we'll perhaps drill down into some of the specific ideas around monetization. So Mark, if we could start with you. Freemium is a word that gets bandied around a lot. What is it? What does it mean? Are there various different types of it? What's your take on that?
Okay, well, good afternoon. Freemium, I suppose, is really about being able to download an app, maybe, and then giving the opportunity to purchase additional content later. So you're actually bringing somebody in with some free content to begin with, and then give them another experience which they're paying for at a later date. There are a number of different freemium models out there. What's important to say that Juniper Research have just said recently that in-app advertising spend will reach $7.1 billion by 2015, and consider that was just $2.4 billion last year. So we're on a huge trajectory in the next couple of years. iOS platform revenue from freemium apps has quadrupled in the last 2 years. Google Plays has 3.5 times multiplied in the last year alone. So we're in a world where this seems to be the model, and we heard this morning from EA, that lots of gaming applications are really pursuing this route now too.
Okay, great. And anything from the Telegraph's particular experiences? Any kind of success stories? We're all here to get the inside track on how you've done it, I guess. So anything that you've got to share would be great.
I suppose that if we can take our story from what we heard this morning from EA, that they were saying that a lot of gaming is now driven by the freemium model. And I suppose what, in essence, you're able to do with gaming is to create an addiction for people. So you can actually bring people in and get them hooked, and then it's more easier to get them to buy additional content. And if they buy the additional content, once they've invested in the space, they're more likely to purchase more stuff going forward. So I think newspapers have learned their models around this sort of thing too now, and we at the Telegraph, we are now 1 month into putting a meter on our website. So taking that principle, we now have a situation whereby, as far as our website is concerned, you can access up to 20 articles a month, at which point we will ask you, would you like to register for one of our digital subscription packs? And I'll talk a lot more about those tomorrow. I'm presenting tomorrow about the whole Telegraph story, but I won't go into that detail today. But essentially, very few people will see that because it excludes many things. It excludes all our advertising and all our sponsorship. It excludes certain sections such as travel and fashion, which we may want to look at premium channels for those. Premium channels for those later on. It excludes jobs announcements. You can go to the section at the homepage, the section homepage, the section menu page before you actually start to register your 20 articles. So as soon as you click on an article, that's when it starts. So it's all very new. It's only a month old, I say, in the UK. So we've got no figures to report yet, but we're very encouraged by this. We know that what we do once we initiate the digital packs, based on, if you like, a freemium model to start with, we know that people want to consume content in multiple channels across different devices at different points of the day. So when the digital packs click in, that's when they're able to look at our website through all the various channels that they wish.
Great. Paul, you help developers, you help brands with their apps and monetize them through advertising. How do you remain the good guy? Ruining all our apps with these ads popping up everywhere.
So I'll take you through the Tapjoy model to start with, so you can sort of understand where we're coming from. So Tapjoy is a mobile-only business. We operate a platform that connects advertisers with app developers, and effectively what we do is enable consumers to unlock content through engaging with advertising. So it's an advertising model, but it actually really works around the freemium model where you unlock content. So that's the model that we work around, and we believe in a number of different things that mean that our model is successful, and other models that are similar will also be successful. And there's a few points there. One would be we truly believe in native advertising. Native advertising is quite a buzzword at the moment. A lot of people are using it to push their propositions forward in terms of, it fits within the content, and the consumer doesn't feel they're being advertised to. So that's one of the things that I would say is key to good advertising. Secondly would be that it's non-intrusive, and this is particularly relevant for mobile. There's too many companies out there who've taken the desktop model from web and basically moved that into mobile, and there's, that seems to be the prevalent advertising model at the moment. And we believe that serving a banner over content in mobile doesn't work. It's too intrusive, users don't like it. There's too many clicks that happen because the user didn't mean to click on an advertisement. So we absolutely believe in user-initiated content as well. And so if a user says to an advertiser, I want to read your message, that's how we believe that advertising should be served on mobile. So there'd be my two cornerstones for good advertising on mobile. What I would say is there's almost no companies globally who are doing mobile advertising well. You could look at someone like Google would probably be the best company. They've been very fortunate in that their native ad experience, so the sponsored links on Google search fits very well in the mobile environment, and it's contextually relevant, and it's not intrusive. So Google have been very fortunate in that they've been able to move a desktop model into mobile, and it's still very, very, very relevant for the medium. Twitter have got another a relevant model, although they do have issues with contextual relevance. And I'd say Facebook is another example of a native experience whereby your friends like content that is advertiser paid for, and therefore that is a native experience because that's why you're in that environment. So they're three companies who, three of the biggest companies in mobile who are doing very well with a native experience, and I think that's why they're doing so well.
Okay, great, thank you. And if we just get Lewa's kind of intro remarks, and I think we've already kind of got some good some good discussion points from the first two. So, Lewa, tell us a little bit about monetizing the developer experience and the developer proposition with BlackBerry specifically.
Fine. Actually, I'll take it from a little bit different angle. Monetization is the final stage for an application story that comes after doing the best application for a user. So it's actually a challenge. If an application is interesting, word of mouth, and picking up very well within users, it will open so many channels for you for monetization. Now, SDKs and APIs are available for only different platforms. You can go for the subscription model, you can go for the one-time a la carte, you can go for the advertising base, whatever you want. SDKs are there. But actually your application will define the best monetization way that you can take it forward. And once you launch the application, you really need to monitor performance and get feedback and update your monetization strategy. WhatsApp launched as a free application for the first, 3, 4, 5 years. And after gathering 200 million downloads, now it's went up to the 1-year time fees for 99 cents. After he knows that there's a demand and picking up rate, and he waited so long for the monetization to happen, and he picked the right moment. So many people did this. In Angry Birds, they start with the freemium model, and then they went for the one-time a la carte. The next game that is Zombie and Planets, they start with a la carte, then they added the freemium model, then they get back to the advertisement base. So monetization is all about what is the best way for you to capture revenues out of application, and it's a challenge for the developer. He has to make it worth paying for. You cannot cheat users.
Sure.
So if you develop an application and you believe that you can get hit and run revenues, you may have hit and run revenues. But actually users will talk about your application, and if you develop it right, you can find so many ways to monetize your application.
Yeah, I'll just pick up on that.
Sure.
I think it's absolutely right that the challenge thing for developers is how do you make if there's a light version, if you like, of how do you make that challenging enough to realize that there are real tangible benefits to the full model.
Yep.
And that's sometimes difficult to understand, and people to understand what it is I'm going to get if I pay for extra to get that extra content. So we have to make it very distinct, but at the same time, make the original version, the free version, really engaging in itself. So it's a tight balance, tricky balance.
I'm totally within the approach of freemium. Users had to have the touch of your application on a free basis for a while, so they can believe in your application. And once they are more engaged, you can think of way of monetization and everything. Now for BlackBerry and OEMs, we are always trying to offer new channels like a la carte, subscription, and we are engaging with mobile operators to provide carrier billing. So it will make it much easier for developers to integrate the carrier billing SDKs within their applications and make it easier for users to obtain more applications.
Great. I mean, that did bring up a question I was going to have. So, I mean, I think the sense that I get, and correct me if I'm not getting this, but the sense is from everyone is that you've got to get them to dip their toe in the water. You've got to create this compulsion for the product that they're engaging with. They're demanding it. They're relying on it. And how you monetize it, once you have them at that stage, you're in an opportunity. You have an opportunity to monetize it. How do you then monetize it? And that brings up the question of advertising, subscription, a la carte pricing, and one that we hear a lot of talk about, Lewa, which I guess you're in a position to talk a little bit about perhaps, is carrier billing. Now, is the business model in place? Is the ecosystem ready? Can developers tap into revenues through the carrier here in the Middle East?
In Middle East, actually, carriers are a little bit slow in obtaining new revenue channels. Nonetheless, they are very eager to increase the revenues away from the calling or airtime revenues. So they are very eager to integrate the carrier billing into the content story. Now, what we are trying to do is to provide the same experience when you use our own carrier or our own billings. That is the 70-30 model. 70 gets for the content provider and 30 remains for the OEMs. And we are trying to implement the same ratio when you integrate the carrier billing into your application. So the application or the content owner still get 70% of the revenues for him and 30% for the others. So we are trying to build this business model that's sustainable, because at the end, if developers makes no money, he will not be interested in carrier billing or subscriptions or a la carte. So we're trying to maintain the 70-30 ratio, the one in the industry standards, and we are trying to implement this in the same way in the carrier billing. Once you get carrier billing, users, when we implement carrier billing in Spain, we had 300% increase in download paid revenues in the first month. It really have an effect on the market when you integrate carrier billing.
Right. Mainly due to the fact that they have that customer relationship, they have that billing capability, and it's a trusted partner that we're used to paying every month. and they're perfectly positioned. I guess just moving on to Mark and Paul, a joint question, I guess, which you can scrap it out as to who goes in there first. Mark, your business is about creating great content. Paul, you have a business which helps monetize that content, which helps monetize the interaction with that. Mark, do you think the days of people paying for content in the way that they have in the past, with its ubiquitous nature, with how easy it is to share, to the news feeds on Facebook, I pick up as much news from these things perhaps as I do as actually subscribing sometimes to the magazine itself. What's your take on that? Do you need organizations like Paul? Do you welcome that kind of engagement? Do you welcome that relationship?
Absolutely. Are people willing to pay for content in the same way as before? Was the question. No, because the world has changed. But are they willing to pay still? Yes, they are. And I think it's how it's actually packaged. I mean, we spend a lot of money, and people are willing to recompense that in terms of the quality journalism that we provide.
Sure.
So people are still willing to pay for that. And we know from our own experiences, the New York Times told you this morning, their experiences are similar too. It's just about how we package it up. We can't just treat it. We used to have, I remember when I was a youngster in the newspaper business, I worked in my local town. I was born in the city, the Beatles city in Liverpool. And, in Liverpool. And I remember we used to say to our advertisers at the time, when we were trying to convince them to buy our product, our circulations, it's about 500,000. And that was all we needed to do. How the world has changed. Every click is measured today, and it's enough to keep you up all night. But things have changed, but that doesn't mean to say that the core values of what we present to them has changed, and we still provide quality opinion, quality journalism, and it's about giving people access to that journalism at any time they want to access it, whether it's on a mobile, a tablet, in print still, which is still a cornerstone to what we offer, print newspapers. It's part of the package, and it's just one of the screens that we offer going forward. So within that, we have advertisers, of course, and if those advertisers are relevant to the context, and if they are interactive, whether it's in a digital format, if it's interactive and relevant and contextual, as Paul was saying, then it does have a value too. We found with our iPad app, for example, that people spend more time on there now, and they engage more with us now. They are paying for it. When it was free, they were just, yeah, it's good, but now they're paying for it. They're like, yeah, they avariceously read it.
As a proportional or absolute numbers?
Absolute numbers.
Right. So my view on subscriptions, if we're going to duke it out a little bit, my view on subscriptions are it's an outdated business model, a subscription. The notion of everyone paying exactly the same for, you can have tiers of subscription, but you have these power users in subscription models who basically consume much more content than very low-end users, and therefore the low-end users are subsidizing the content consumption of those high-end users. And I think increasingly in this democratized world that we have because of these great platforms, subscriptions are going to be discovered as a less and less efficient way to do it, and I think what the Telegraph are going to end up doing is going fully down the sort of microtransaction route, where essentially you end up paying for every page rather than paying for a subscription, because I don't want to be paying for 10 journalists who are writing about gardening when I'm not reading about gardening, and I think that's been proven in games already. So if you look at some of the big Star Wars that was released a couple of years ago, they basically had to try and make that game into a freemium game because they realized that increasingly people are going to freemium platforms whereby they're paying, they only want to pay for the content that they consume. And I think increasingly as business models go towards that sort of you only pay for the content you consume, that's really where an advertiser has a place, because they can sponsor that experience. Whereas in the subscription world, there's no real place for advertisers, I don't think, because you're paying for that experience. I don't think I should be served advertising if I'm paying if I'm paying for that subscription. And I feel the same as Sky as I do as any other traditional media platform.
I guess, talking about the advertising route, and Mark, we were talking off stage a little bit about this, but we're talking a lot about the consumer, we're talking a lot about their wants and needs. I guess all of you, in many ways, have two sets of customers. Mark, you have the subscribers who are customers, and you have the advertisers who are, a revenue stream that you don't want to give up. I'm sure you can't afford to give up. It's, they're as vital as any. Lewa, I'm sure you have, developer partners as well as consumers like us and users of the device. You've got to create a proposition which they can monetize, which they're getting value from. What's the value proposition is the value proposition right now strong enough, do you think, for a brand that wants to engage with mobile on the iPad tab for the Telegraph?
I think we're all, as an industry I'm talking now, I think we're
Sure.
all still working at the best business models, and there isn't one right or wrong answer, I don't believe. You have to work out what's right for your market. But what we are doing specifically is creating new forms of advertising, which we, having done our research with our advertisers, with our agencies, finding out what it is they're actually wanting. Yes, there is obviously a relevance to a factor and a contextual factor, which we're working on at the moment, whether that's just something as simple as sponsorship of a section.
Sure.
We quite often get agencies saying to me, well, we have a sports drink manufacturer and just want their ads to open when someone opens the sports section, for example. Quite an obvious thing to say, so a contextually placed ad of that description. So there are innovations, and again, I'll show some of the innovations tomorrow we're looking at this moment. But yes, all of that makes a relevance. But that's the key word, it's relevance. You've got to be reaching people at the right time, at the right place, in the right frame of mind, and on the right platform where it's all about the user experience at the end of the day, how they want to consume your content. So that's careful balance between research with readers and advertisers and our own, obviously, intuition, editorial intuition, if you like, of what's best for that market.
I think the issue really on mobile at the moment is, so there's a standardization. So the more relevant you want to become, the more native you have to devise your solution for your product, which means that there's less and less scale for an advertiser to actually engage with. So I think that's one of the key problems is achieving scale and making it cost effective to actually engage with your audience. And I think that's probably one of the biggest problems that mobile will face, a standardization of a scalable solution that offers advertisers an alternative to desktop, because at the moment desktop banners are all very standardized. It's very easy to get scale. You go to Google and they can basically be your one-stop shop.
Sure.
Whereas on mobile, it's not the same. There isn't a one-stop shop for all your mobile needs in terms of an advertising solution. Therefore, you have to go to each different publisher where your audience lives and create a specific solution for that audience, which is expensive.
I think just to take that point as well a stage further, yes, what the industry needs is a standardization of things like ad units across all platforms, this sort of responsive design we've been talking about for quite a while now, of how we actually make it easy for our advertisers to buy into the space. So it's one click, one buy. I mean, we are packaging up our offerings across things like Google Currents, iPad, Flipboard, blah, 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 to make it one click, one buy, and you're on the platform. Where we still get to is how we make the creatives easy for people to say, yes, just one creative and one, off we go. At this moment, it's too fragmented, but that's a market industry thing we're trying to drive.
Lewa.
Well, I believe now brands should stop asking themselves, should we be on mobile or not? It's way gone. It's like we were in the 90s, should I have a website or not? Now mobile is taking over. Now brands are being late in being on mobile and adapting the best experience according to each platform. There's no turnkey solution or standardization for which app should I be on. The users of iPhone are completely different from the users of Android or other tablets, from the users of BlackBerry. For me, I believe that each user has a different, unique experience. The user of tablet is completely different from the user of mobile. So even if there's a standardization of being or having the same application running on phone or running on tablet, I believe you should not go for it, because the people who's using tablets are using it in a very different way from people using mobile, and even you should adapt yourself in a very unique way for each platform. I'll give an example for BlackBerry, for instance. BlackBerry users have the BlackBerry Messenger, and the BlackBerry Messenger is a free tool for advertising, for people or brands to use it in their advertisement campaigns. Sky News, when they launched in UK a BlackBerry Messenger integrated application, they got in one day 70,000 downloads. They started using the BlackBerry Messenger as an advertisement tool. Everyone in your BlackBerry Messenger list, they can see that you have Sky News. I can download in this link. I can download the application. So the BBM, the BlackBerry Messenger, became your free advertisement tool. Wikitude, when they launched the BBM integrated application, they got over 200,000 downloads in the first week. So there's so many features in each platform that people should adapt for and search for in order to get the best experience for their mobile engagement tool. And this, I believe there's not really 10 key solution for each platform.
Ultimately, I think where the eyeballs go, that's where the money goes to, ultimately.
Sure.
We just need to work that out.
Just on that point, I have a question as a consumer, I guess, and that's, do you think we're going to move, I guess, more in your space, Mark, than anywhere else, where somebody walks to the news agents in the morning, they buy a copy of the newspaper, they pay once, they read half of it on the tube to work or whatever, they want to read the rest in their lunch break on their tablet, they've got to pay again. Are we going to move to a pay once, view everywhere model, do you think? Or?
Which is what we're doing now as part of putting the meter on a website. It actually, if you like, completes the picture. So we offer now a digital pack which gives you access to all our platforms, including print if you wish. And how we've done it is package up so that the print edition cost is basically inclusive then of everything else bundled in. So there's an added value. We try and make it, I'd be mad not to buy that. So you can do exactly what you've just said. And we found ourselves, if you take the Olympics, we had the Olympics, of course, in London last year. Yeah. You take what we found with the Olympics was that people went from the newspaper in the morning and on the way to work with the handset, coupling on the way to work, then online, peaking at lunchtime, and then back to handset. And then finally, we found that our biggest screen was in the evening on the iPad. So it's about giving people access for one price, the whole content level.
Okay. And Paul, just going back to briefly your point on intrusion and context and relevance. People are prepared to pay for intrusion?
I think people are either prepared to,
suffer it maybe.
Our belief is, so content has to get paid for in some way. In gaming, you either pay for the product or you are the product. So there's these big social games out there, social networks, Facebook. You either pay for it or you are the product. You create that network that gives Facebook that value. So I think content has to get paid for. How it gets paid for, I don't think. The business models are they're there, and I think it's going to be determined by the type of content. Absolutely. I think advertisers will always play a part in it, though. I think there will wherever there's an audience, I think an advertiser will want to take the opportunity to get in front of that audience in a contextually relevant way. So for me, either you are the product and you create that sort of network effect or value that creates the product. You pay for the product directly, either through subscriptions or through carrier billing or however, or you get advertised to, which subsidizes the cost of the product. And I don't see that going away in the mobile world. I see it maturing much more than it is now. I think, as I said, advertising in mobile is very, very immature. But I see advertising as having a key part in the future of content monetization, because people don't necessarily always want to get their wallet out to pay for something.
Sure. And
for sure, content need to be paid. One way or another, developers will not work for free. Content owners will not offer their content for free. It need to be paid. But I'm totally with advertising is a very nice tool to overcome the egg and chicken until you get the real monetization strategy for you. You can work on getting a very good reach and start offering advertising as a monetization tool for your content. Yet at the end, somebody need to finance the development, the creativity, the innovation for the content to be offered for the best for mobile users. So I believe advertising with freemium base as a starting point, it is the best way that you can monetize part of your content or part of your applications. But the market here is a little bit adjusting to this, and it will need some time for the market in this region to understand the freemium base and the advertising base segments.
I think one point, just picking on the value advertising in the freemium model, there are some freemium versions where you will get a light version of an app, say, and there's advertising on there, or you can actually buy the full version which has no advertising on it. I mean, I personally have a problem with that. I just think it's an awful model. What does it say to our advertisers? That your advertising gives no value to us, really. It's if someone wants to buy the content, then you're not important to us. I mean, that's just appalling. And everyone should be shot if they're taking that model.
I think what that shows is that the advertising's badly implemented into that app.
Absolutely.
So much so that I will pay to get rid of it means that the advertising is very, and that's that's a reaction to desktop models being put into mobile. Is right. We will stop annoying you if you pay us money, and that's terrible. Yeah, that's why people hate ads, because that's the sort of way that ads are implemented into content. And I think we, as an industry, we've got to work out how ads do fit into mobile, and users don't feel like they want to pay money to get rid of advertisers, because they shouldn't feel like that.
I suppose we're fortunate in as much as being a traditional, established, well-known brand which has advertising in it, in a print product.
Sure.
Moving to the digital world, people expect to see the advertising to follow, so we're in a fortunate position in that regard, I suppose.
I totally agree. Sometimes, unfortunately, most of the people, when they apply advertisement in the application, they apply it in a way that you really feel so furious that you download this application and you just want to delete it. Advertising should be implemented in a way that is really completing the experience of the application. It's not something you want to get rid of. It's something I want to use in the application, even if it's an advertisement. How you implement advertisement, how you integrate it within the application, and make it from the core design of the application is a key element. You don't forget the pop-up windows that keep going in your face, close, then you delete the application. No. Advertisement is another element to complete the experience of the application, and this is how people should implement it.
Okay, just to wrap up, I just have a question. It's a sweeping statement or a sweeping question. What needs to change, Paul, for people to make more money on mobile?
What is the change? Right, so I think it starts with more content on mobile. I think more good content on mobile. That's where it has to start, because people, until there's a significant problem, people aren't going to work out how to solve that. So, I don't think enough companies are trying to solve this advertising problem piece. There are many more companies in desktop advertising than there are in mobile advertising. Secondly, some form of standardization will solve this problem, because that will give scale to advertisers, and therefore they will be able to spend more money, and around measurement as well, standardization around measurement as well. Those sort of things. That's basically how desktop took off. As soon as ad formats on desktop were standardized, advertisers could buy much more efficiently, and therefore a lot more money came into the space. A number of amount of content, which is basically eyeballs on content, and then standardization.
Mark, how are the Telegraph going to?
Well, I'd agree with that. I'd also say that the one thing above all we need to bear in mind is user experience, and we seem to forget that sometimes in just trying to push our products out there. Someone once said to me, if at Christmas when everybody wears a Santa hat, you're not wearing it because it's a hat, you're wearing it for the experience, and it's not necessarily the product they're buying, it's the experience they're buying, and I think it's so true. So from our point of view at the Telegraph, what that means is we obsess about loyalty. 60% of people that buy the Telegraph are 7-day-a-week subscribers. So we obsess about that loyalty. So we have to find reason to keep them loyal, to keep them engaged, and that's giving them extra content, maybe added value offers, etc., to keep them in that mode. Part of that is about the user experience, but that's got to be king.
Lewa, are you speaking on behalf of your developer community about what needs to change for them to make more money, or would you like to speak on behalf of BlackBerry? It's up to you.
We all wish to be the next Angry Birds or the next Planet and Zombies. It will need time for you to get the right idea to the store, to the right idea application to the users. You will need time. Just bear in mind that providing the best application for the users always prove worthy. People are moving to mobile, smartphones are taking over. Be there, introduce your best ideas in a very good way, user experience, regardless of it depends on advertisement, freemium, subscription. Yet you have to provide something that the users will need, use, and interact with. And social is taking over everything. So you have to get all these elements together. App stores are everywhere. Carrier billing, subscriptions, a la carte are implemented in different platforms. At the end, it's your user experience in the application, how you implement the elements in the application, how you create the best application that will make the difference.
Okay, thank you very much. If we have any microphones in the audience, hopefully we can. If we have any questions, we've probably got time for one or two before we have to move on. No questions. Everyone's in a bit of a food coma after lunch. But I'd personally like to thank Paul, Mark, and Lewa for taking their time to join us today, and for those that have travelled internationally, a particular thanks. So, thank you very much, gents. Thank you.
Thanks.